I spent 2 solid weeks trying to play football with large men who were trying to hurt me very badly. And my graduating year was probably one of the worst years of the 20th century to actually graduate and try to find a job. And I am the worst designer in the history of designers. So I have no commentary about purple and pink.
I bet you're not, really. I bet you're not.
I would challenge your statement, but hey, I'll take it. Most brands, most companies are straight up boring. They're straight up not saying anything that their core customer would even recognize as interesting, educational, helpful, funny, cute, whatever.
On this week's episode of the Engaging Marketeer, I am speaking with Chris O'Shea, a marketing expert from Halifax, but not Halifax in Yorkshire, Halifax in Canada. I'm going to be talking to Chris about marketing, websites, SEO, branding, and how you market yourself as different in a competitive landscape. But he's in Canada. It's very early in the morning for him, so let's see quite how lively he is at this stage of the day. I feel like I'm really looking up at you now because I've got a monitor up on the screen up there. Your camera's really low, so it is properly like I'm looking up at you.
I'll look down, and so we'll have perfect eye contact. No problem.
It works. What can I say? It just works. It
just works.
I mean, when we're editing this together, we really should put your video on top of mine so it properly works like this, not side by side.
I love
Editors,
it. I love
if you
it
listen
already.
to this, let's go with up and down. It's going to be weird. It's going to be...
Pleasure to connect and meet you in person and virtually.
Thank you very much. Do you know, I was just looking you up earlier, and it said that you were in Halifax, and I thought, Yorkshire. That's about an hour and a half away from me. Huh? Not bad. But
it would be nice.
No. Different Halifax.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a bit of a trek across the pond.
Just a tad.
I have never been to the UK. Would love to come, but have not had the opportunity to cross the pond. Just got back from Barbados, so that's as close as I can get because I was driving on the wrong side of the road as far as North Americans are concerned. So
do you know? I put something on LinkedIn last week about bollards and a security tag outside your car. You press the code in, being on the wrong side of the road. Yeah. Somebody from America commented, typical British, you drive on the wrong side of the road, and then you blame everybody else for it. So I thought, I'm going to come back with something smart. And I actually searched for why we drive on the left-hand side of the road in the UK.
Oh, please do tell.
Oh, you're going to love this.
Okay.
It's from ancient Roman times.
Okay.
Where you go on the left side of the road so that your sword hand is free for anybody oncoming that tries to attack you. You can hit them with your sword.
Little stabby. That's traveling in style. There you go.
But the really cool thing, a lot of Europe drives on the right side of the road, or as I like to call it, the wrong side. That's because of Napoleon.
Oh, okay.
Napoleon conquered most of Europe. He was left-handed. So he wanted to go on the right side so that he could attack people with his left hand.
Exactly. Parry and thrust. There you go. I love it.
Look at that.
I think that's fantastic. I too am a southpaw, so
so you'd be there with Napoleon.
Oh, I'm all kinds of screwed up when it comes to these things. So it's anyway, it's a very I'm a very oddball. So in the Canadian way of playing ice hockey, I actually shoot right, which is the opposite of what I should do because I'm left-handed. Which is shoot left. Same with golf. I'm a righty. I'm an enigma. So there you go.
It's weird. When I play rounders in the UK, or baseball, as you guys call it, I can hit it left or right.
Oh, see, you're in high demand then. So switch hitters.
Well, I'm equally rubbish at both. But
that's a different conversation. But yes,
I mean, I can hit it left or right, just not particularly well.
Completely agree.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we seem to have started the podcast, so
let's
just crack on with it as we are.
This is amazing.
Yeah, exactly. It's gold.
Completely.
I was put in touch with you by one of my former guests, Al Tepper. Al.
Yep.
Who is a legend over here in BI.
Right.
I've seen Al speak live. He's just a phenomenal guy. Got some amazing stories to tell. Yep. Massive NFL fan as well. If you knew that.
He is so funny story. I had the briefest of football careers, American football careers, Canadian football careers, and that's where Al and I met. So we were at the same university.
Wow.
And so I was not a American football, Canadian football player in high school, but I always loved the game, wanted to try it. I was like, this is a thing that I have to do. I had chosen my university. I literally harassed the head football coach to give me a chance. He's like, fine, stop bothering me. Come try out. And so I spent 2 solid weeks trying to play football with large men who were trying to hurt me very badly. And so I actually wound up hurting my hamstring very badly, and I kind of just hung him up. But that's where Al and I connected. So he was on that same squad of guys trying to be in the on the football team. So I bailed early because I knew that was a bad idea. And then I had the smart idea of playing rugby. So that was phase 2 for me.
That's a smart idea, you think, playing rugby after football?
No, not at all.
No,
I have the wounds to account for it. So, but that's where I met Al. Al's a fantastic guy. He's always been a fantastic guy. And so I'm very pleased to hear, through you and through others that he has the following and the street credibility in the BNI community and beyond that he deserves, because he's a very good dude, as we like to say.
He is. He's a fantastic guy. And when you were playing rugby, how long did that last? Because
that lasted longer, but equally tragic. So equally tragic. I played. So our university had a bit of a football program and then a rugby program. And my rugby coach was a Scottish guy. His name is Ed Carty. He is still coaching rugby well into his 80s.
Wow.
And he is anyway, he was my philosophy professor. Fantastic human. Anyway, so I picked up the oval ball to start playing rugby, and again, knew nothing of the game other than what I'd seen on some match somewhere. And we wound up having a hell of a career. I never lost a match in my university career.
Wow.
Now to be fair, I'm Division II at best. But then I decided I wanted to continue on, and I played senior men's rugby here in Nova Scotia in Canada with the team called Cole Harbour. And Cole Harbour actually produced some pretty stellar standout Canadian talent. So my scrum half, one of the scrum halves on the team, was Morgan Williams, whose father's obviously from Wales, but grew up with the game. Him and his brother Jeff.
Did sound a Welsh name.
Yeah, and he played 4 Rugby World Cup tournaments as scrum half for Canada. So and it was one of those things that I made the tragic error of calling it a beer sport. And so I would practice, I would play the game, and then I would go drink beer. And Morgan would practice, go play the game, and then go get physio, and then go to the gym. So two different paths through the game. And so anyway, I wound up injuring my knee pretty heavily, and I wasn't getting paid. So I was like, you know what? I think I'm good. So I hung my boots up probably 97, 98, with, a couple of concussions, a couple of shoulder separations, a few fractures. It is what it is. It's how you go. Yeah.
Well, I was just distracted a second then. There was an alert sound popped up, and I don't know whether it was you or whether it was me. It shouldn't have been me, because I do deactivate everything.
Oh yeah, let me if I'm pinging, let me close all of this stuff.
I know Microsoft does a habit of undeactivating deactivation sounds.
Exactly, that's a very good point. But
why would you possibly want to not have this pinging throughout your day?
This very important random email is
somebody's
super
giving
valuable.
me a thumbs up on a WhatsApp message you sent 5 weeks ago. You need to know about this.
100%.
Damn sons of bitches.
Indeed, story of our lives.
I've completely lost my train of thought now.
That's quite all right. We've been all over the place already.
We have. So while you were at university trying to start an NFL career, which didn't last very long, and a rugby career, which did last a long time.
Longer.
What were you actually in university for?
Oh, that's a fantastic
presumably
question.
It wasn't a rugby scholarship.
So there was no rugby scholarship in my future, but I did go. I wound up. I took a bit of a winding road, but I wound up getting into the business program. My university and Al's university, St. Francis Xavier University in Antigonish, Nova Scotia. Beautiful spot, great campus. Again, as most people who go through university say, best 4 years of my life. Kind of a scenario of just enjoying life, learning some things. But I took that out of a business program that was sort of was a management program, but it was a taste for business, and that got me into the business world. And my graduating year was probably one of the worst years of the 20th century to actually graduate and try to find a job. So it was a struggle. It was a slog to go out and so I started with sales jobs. And I tried a few different things. Nothing really stuck. And so a good friend of mine actually went back. One of my roommates in university went back to school and went into tech. So there was a program here in Canada that was a 9-month sort of immersive tech program where they can get you into programming and things along those lines. So I was like, hell yeah, let's do that. So I'm not going anywhere with what I've got. And so I went into tech. And the next thing you know, graduated from that program. And at that time, it was Y2K. And so if you were in a tech role of any kind, there was a job for you somewhere. And so my fiance at the time, who's now my wife, and I were like, okay, what do we want to do? So we decided to go across the border. So we had choices. I could have gotten a job in San Diego, Houston, Boston, and we wound up, I worked with a little SAP web development company in Boca Raton, Florida. So packed up from the cold Arctic of Canada and moved to sunny climes of South Florida. In the United States.
Quite a difference in climate.
Quite a difference, yeah. And we spent 6 years down there, and it was awesome. It was a very unique time of tech in the sense of coming. And we went through the .com bust, like the whole 9 yards. And so I learned, I don't know, a half dozen programming languages that nobody wants me to program in anymore, which I completely understand.
Well, that's actually of interest. What languages were websites being built in by your company?
Yeah, so we were coding HTML4 straight up, and then we would use ASP if you're doing something on the Microsoft side or whatever. You could kind of get your, Java as a middleware, like whatever we were building. We were doing a lot of taxware integrations, so SAP and taxware integrations, so ABAP programming. And anyway, again, nobody wants me to do that anymore, and that's a very good idea. So
it's a lot of dead languages.
Oh my God! But to be fair to me, it actually set me up quite significantly for future success. Because again, I came back and I worked in tech consulting here once we moved back from South Florida back to home here in Nova Scotia in Canada, and worked in tech consulting. Then I transitioned into marketing, so I was at a marketing agency for a couple of years, and then my current role is obviously with the Business Development Bank of Canada. Which is a real, it's a stellar organization, to be very frank, but we're sort of what's our current moniker? We're the bank for doers and dreamers. Like we support entrepreneurs across Canada in the sense of like there's a functional financial institution, bank, term lending, the whole 9 yards. And then we have this little arm of it, which is advisory services, which is where I live. And that's supporting clients with whatever they need to do. So that's a 360 of the business. Now I work in the growth side of things. So if somebody says they want to grow their little small business, I'm in, let's go. And so that could be sales, marketing, some sort of digital technology conversation, which all that sort of backstory that I just gave you kind of fed into kind of where I'm at today. And then it's being at the front end of this. So kind of work with every type vertical area of industry that you could possibly think of is something that we touch as part of just being in this ecosystem of Canadian business. And it's been working phenomenally. And everybody who works with this organization is in for the mandate, which is to help small business succeed. And so not too dissimilar to what you guys are doing with the BNI world, because we have a chapter here in Halifax. I'm very quasi familiar with kind of what that does. So it's understanding a little bit more about that ecosystem. So that's very much near and dear to my heart for sure as part of what we do. So, but it's again, it's a very forward-thinking organization trying to get companies to be living in the world that we live in right now, and not 10 years ago. And many of them still want to live in the 10-year ago world, and so it's trying to help them do that. So
there are a lot of businesses that keep trying to market like it was 1990s or early 2000 and think that kind of stuff works again. A lot of older style businesses like golf clubs, for example, keep trying the same thing and wondering why their membership is dwindling. When you were working in web design, helping small businesses in the early 2000s in Boca Raton, is that how you pronounce
Boca
it?
Raton, yep.
Boca Raton.
So right on the east coast of Florida, just between Miami and West Palm Beach.
Oh, nice.
It is nice.
Nice.
Not gonna lie. Yeah, there was lots of tears shed when we decided to come back to the tundra.
I bet there was. Yeah. I've been to Miami, but I've not been to Boca Raton.
I've been about an hour and a half up the coast, basically.
Awesome. Could you have foreseen how the digital world would have changed in the 20 odd years since then.
Oh my good God, no. Oh, not even like, I mean, we were in it at the time. So, I mean, I think one of the big benefits of me specifically being in code, in doing things, like there was no WordPresses or Shopify's or anything out there that even that was a revelation for me as a web developer to be like, I don't have to code from line one. Like, this is fantastic. Like, where do I sign up? And then to see it mature and become, this enterprise level, tool set. But back in those days, like everything was so hands-on and manual, and you're building compilers and like, geez, like holy mackerel. And again, for me, I am a C plus programmer at best. And so, being in an ecosystem with A plus talent, and they just know it. They just know what to do. That was extremely eye-opening for me, in the sense of like, I learned it, and I learned enough to be competent. Let's call it competent. But when you get it, like when you're in it and it's part of your DNA, like seeing that talent do that work at that level is magic to me. Like it's like, and I've seen the same thing in the financing world with finance people who just algorithmically think in that way. And like, I can't even step up to the plate, to use a baseball analogy. Like, I'm not even that guy. So marketing is a little bit more sales, a little bit more my speed. But when I'm in it and I'm doing the work, knowing that I'm out of my element, but learning, like drinking through a fire hose every day, it is wondrous to see how those things get. But to answer your question, like the progress to where we are with Gen AI tools and all the things that are happening now, there was no crystal ball for me on that at all. I'm sure somebody that I might have worked with be like, oh, this is where I can see the train going. Nope, not me, not this guy. This has been me trying to play on the front foot and really keep up with what's going on around me. And I think that's what I learned, right? Like, that's what I learned being in the tech space, understanding the rules of engagement of being in that sort of waterfall development, whatever we want to call it, world. And now we're in this sort of Gen AI, Kubernetes, C++ tied to something, like, data lakes, like all of that stuff is that background serves me well in that environment. Do I have full 100% comprehension of it? No. Can I talk the talk to a point where I understand what's going on? Absolutely. And so that was the real benefit of me being in that space, in that community, in that workforce. And now here I am 20 years later and trying to help small businesses wrap their minds around it. And they are very much not, in that space at all. So this has kind of been the best of both worlds from my side.
As you specialize with helping small businesses,
yep.
And we work with a lot of small businesses as well. One thing I've found to be a bit of a problem, as technology's got easier to use, and as you mentioned, WordPress has come out and Wix has come out, it essentially means that anybody with no experience whatsoever can say, I'm a web designer. And they can charge people to build a website, charge people to build a Wix website that they could do themselves with like 3 clicks of a button, but other people will charge them for it. Do you think that's damaging small businesses, that the barrier to entry is non-existent now?
So as you have posted something about the car situation on LinkedIn, I posted about the literally last week or the week before. How many times have I seen, entrepreneurs, company owners come in and be sold a bill of goods? And maybe that was a good bill of goods, maybe that wasn't a good bill of goods, but they have no yardstick to measure. Is this good? Is this not good? He says it's $10,000 or 10,000 pounds. Like, what does that mean? And so my broad-based statement was that, if you own a business, you need to know how this stuff works. Do you need to be able to code a website? Absolutely not. But you need to understand the mechanisms, the things that make this work. Otherwise, somebody who hangs their shingle out and says they're a web designer and they're using a templatized Wix site, copy, paste, that's a problem. And so has the industry done itself a disservice by allowing that to happen a little bit? I would say that some of that is not necessarily anything nefarious. That is just people saying, hey, there's an opportunity here. I'm going to make my own small business. I'm going to do what I can. I'm not an expert, but I'll learn. And some of that works out and some of that doesn't work out. So my job is to come behind all that and point out the elephants in the room and the red herrings and the that's not good and why did you do that, and I am the worst designer in the history of designers, so I have no commentary about
I bet
purple
you're
and
not.
pink
I
and
bet you're not. Really, I bet you're not.
I would challenge your statement, but hey, I'll take it. But like for me, like that's not the goal. The goal is like this tool. If you're going to build a website, air quotes, what do you want this thing to do, and what is the outcome for you? And when it doesn't do what you want it to do, why? And is it the designer developer's fault? Is it you don't know what to do with it? You don't even do you even know what to do with SEO and meta tags, and do you even know what that means? What's an alt tag? Do you know what an alt tag is? And when they don't, and they expect some level of outcome or success, I'm like, time out. Not how this works. You can't expect an outcome from something that you don't understand. If you're an expert and it still fails, well, there's a different problem. Something else is going sideways. But for most companies, they don't have the expertise. They're expecting somebody who is that third party to bring that expertise, and maybe they do, maybe they don't. I mean, to our collective discussion here, there's a mixed bag of talent out there. But at the end of the game, if it's my website and I am taking responsibility for it and it's not doing what I want it to do, well, then that's a learning opportunity for me. And now, best case scenario, if it isn't working, if it isn't going well, just ask ChatGPT what's going on. What happened? And suddenly you have a story that, maybe it's the right story or not the right story, but it's at least something that you can sink your teeth into. But this is the responsibility that I want business owners to really to take full advantage of. Like if you expect something to happen, you need to have ownership of that. And how many times, I'm sure you've seen it many times, they don't even own the domain.
No,
not even their domain. And I'm like, wait a second.
No, we had a conversation with somebody about that just today. Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Their web designer owned the domain, not them.
Yep. So, and in that world, kind of shame on them, but at the same time, you don't know what you don't know. Right. Like, so this is the stuff that, and again, part of my role is to educate a little bit about that. Again, not expecting an entrepreneur to be, a web developer coming out of a conversation with me, but certainly be aware that these are the things that they need to have access on. And so it's a tough space for a lot of, let's call them practitioners to be. If I'm a chiropractor or if I'm a whatever, I'm good at chiropractic. I have no idea what that is. And that's totally fair. That makes complete sense. But if you're looking to scale and grow a business, this becomes part of your job, as challenging as that might be.
Well, the most frustrating thing, I think, for me is we speak to a lot of people who have websites already or are looking to get a website, and they don't actually know what they want it to do. They just think, I need to have a website because that's what somebody's told me. That's what a business advisor's told me, or that's what my competitors got. What do you actually want it to do? I don't know.
I don't know. I get that all the time. Yeah. Yeah. That I'll actually take that because there's a learning path for somebody there. What do you want it to do? Okay, well, let's talk through what, are you looking to book appointments? Are you looking to sell product? Are you looking to get contacts? Like, what are you trying to do? So then you can reverse engineer a little bit of that process. It's the ones that have an expectation with no basis of understanding. That's where it really starts to get hairy. And again, a lot of times we'll see companies that are trying to do like wholesale integrated e-commerce to an ERP system and have no idea what that means. They have an ERP system. They have a website. They want the two of them to talk for inventory and sales and the customer data and all that stuff. That sounds amazing, except that's really hard, like really hard. And when they get in there and they're like, well, just make it happen. They're like, nope, that's not how this works. And so it's giving them an opportunity to understand why this is so challenging for some companies. Now, is that going to get easy over time? AI, Zapier, whatever? Sure, of course it will. But at the same time, if you build it, they will not come. So this is the world we live in. And they have to kind of wrap their minds around that a little bit.
The worst thing I found, and this happened when I used to work at a digital marketing agency in Manchester back in late 2000s. And I still see it now. I speak to people all the time about it. We're doing a lot of audits for businesses that are coming to us for SEO audits, and they want us to look at SEO for them. But the big problem is, and I learned this right at the start of the millennium, that if your website is shit, There is no amount of SEO, no amount of sending traffic to that website that is going to make it work. And there are a load of people out there that have a website they've either built themselves as a bit of a hobby project, or they've got their son-in-law to do it, or they've got somebody to do it on Wix. And it is a crap website. But they are paying for Facebook ads, or they're paying for Google ads, or they're paying
100%.
somebody to do SEO. They want us to look at it and say, why am I not getting enough traffic? Traffic is not your problem.
Right.
No one is going to go to this website and put their trust in you. And some of them are really high-value services, like financial advisors or estate planners, where they expect to look after people's hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars in their estate after they die. They're not going to trust you because your site looks like it was built by a 4-year-old. That's what really pisses me off.
So true. Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I'll double down on what you're saying, because I think a lot of companies, without that trusted support and advice, will just carry on their merry way, thinking that, to your point, we'll just throw more traffic at it, more ads, more this, more that, and
something's got to work. Keep doing it. Something's going to work. Yeah.
Something's going to work, and none of that is true. And even worse than that is the world that we live in, where there's so much data available to them that they never look at. So Google Analytics, never looked at it. Don't even know what that is. Heat mapping on a site, don't know what that is. Like stuff that would give them a story that tells them, move your form up to the top of the page. Maybe let's do that. That sounds like a good idea.
Number of times I've had to say
that. Here we are, right? So this is...
You land on their website and there's a massive photograph you've got to scroll down 3 times just to get to the bottom of. What am I looking at?
It's hilarious that you say that, because I literally had a client that I was working with, and lovely guy, and kind of the same thing, had a very responsive, well-built website as far as he was concerned. And if you pushed it and you shook it, it was pretty solidly built. That's pretty good. And then I asked him to do this. You're your customer. Find the contact us button. Thumb, 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 thumb. Oh, there it is. I'm like, does that seem like a good idea? And so it's little silly things that, we recognize right out of the gate, that they're like, oh my God, that's why nobody's contacting me. Oops. And so, but that's the value folks like us bring to the table, right? It's that, we've been punched in the face enough to know that this is how it's supposed to work. And you thought you were getting something amazing. You got something terrible. It doesn't mean you throw the whole thing in the ditch, or maybe you do, but like at some level, you have to kind of look at it through the lens of the customer. And once you do that, the light bulbs start to come early and often when you start thinking it in those terms. At least from the clients that I'm helping and try to support, because again, like SEO, such a long play, such a dog's breakfast of competitors and keywords and meta tags, and now we throw AEO and GEO on top of that, and like there's all kinds of stuff that these folks have to navigate. And I always say, like just take it back to the customer and let's work forward from there. If the customer has something that they're asking for all the time, why don't we create a page for that? That sounds like a good idea. Like whatever those things are. So it's, again, trying to help, folks that, again, it's not their day job. I empathize. Their day job is to be a chiropractor or whatever. And this is just another wrinkle, but it is the responsibility of the business owner to take ownership of this. This is if the website is their conversion path, you got to own it. It's your conversion path. It's not the web developer. The web developer is going to do or not do whatever they are or not going to do. You gotta be able. So, and I'm sure you're the same. You get the Google Analytics report, 3-page PDF slid across the desk, and they're like, "Look at everything that we're doing." What am I supposed to do with that? And they're like, "Well, it's all green lights. Everything's up and to the right. It's got to be good." Nope.
Yeah, that's why we stopped doing ranking reports years ago.
There you go.
Where you rank in Google for a keyword is completely irrelevant. It's
exactly
how many people are searching for it, coming through to the website. Still not that relevant still. How many people are actually inquiring with you? Are they the right kind of inquiries you want for the business? How many people are buying from your website? Are they the right kind of orders? Are they coming back and buying again? That's what really matters. Where you rank for a keyword, not that important.
Nope.
How much money are you making? That's what's important.
Business results and customers. That's it. Like that's the real meat on the bone. And again, like, again, not to try to make, practitioners of their own businesses become, web nerds, because that's not the goal. But
No,
it's
no,
really
no.
helping see through that fog, right? Like what does that feel like from their perspective? So goals, outcomes, all that becomes a key piece of the puzzle for them to do. And now with all of this AI stuff, and I'm keeping tabs on it, probably like you are. I'm watching the Rand Fishkin, videos and things along those lines, in terms of what he's seeing from an AI search versus traditional Google, which Google is still 10x, 100x more than ChatGPT search, but it's going to change. It will
Yeah,
flex, and
it
so
will.
how do we keep people aware of some of that as well? So it's not any, and I full respect to entrepreneurs. Like, they're dealing with enough already, and now we're throwing this on top of the pile. Like, it's a hard ask for a lot of companies, and so it's when they have somebody within the business that they can trust, who can be that sort of transition or translator, says, here's what the web company says, here's what that actually means, here's what the action plan is, off you go. Whether that's an employee or a third party or whatever, I'm okay with all of that, because at least they're getting good advice. And it's when they don't have any of that and expect an outcome, that's tough. That's a tough place for anybody to be honest. Yeah.
One of the things you wrote down when we initially started talking about
Yeah.
about this podcast interview was marketing, or boring marketing, for B2B businesses. Now,
Yeah.
I've been in SEO a long time. I've created a lot of content for clients, and there are some clients you get that you think this is going to be easy.
Yeah.
This creating the content, the shareable content, the social media content, the video, this is going to be a piece of cake. This is such an exciting client. And then you get those that you think, okay, this is going to be a stretch. What's your view on boring marketing for B2B clients?
I got a lot of opinions. I'm going to tell you that, Darren. I mean, I guess the way I sort of frame it for a lot of companies is that marketing in 2025 is very difficult, for many reasons. But one of the reasons that it's really difficult is that most brands, most companies are straight up boring. They're straight up not saying anything that their core customer would even recognize as interesting, educational, helpful, funny, cute, whatever. And the clients that I typically work with don't necessarily understand. And again, I don't expect, a funeral home to be funny. Like, that's not the goal. Like, but at the same time,
I've seen some that are.
some are, yeah, fair enough.
Some are, yeah.
But they need to understand, like, what is the thing that will get someone interested in what they do. Obviously, I hope I don't have to deal with a funeral home, but if I do, who do I choose? Where do I go? What do I do? It's again, in our vintage, we had the yellow pages here, and then I
Yes.
started the A's. AAA funeral home. Okay, that sounds great. We'll start there. Now that doesn't work. So what is it that we want, in the B2B space specifically? Because there's a lot of commercial, industrial companies that, if they take a step back and look at how they're approaching their market space, serious business, big ticket item sales or contracts or whatever, they still have to get a human being to interact with them at some level, who may not be a customer today. And so how do we do that? And so it's reverse engineering customer is always the way we start. Like, who is that director of procurement that is going to make the decision to call you because you're in that space? Well, if they know you through a friend of a friend, well, that's going to work I'll take word of mouth all day. That's no problem at all. But short of that, what else you got? And so from a marketing perspective, it's how do we make sure that at least we're relevant and interesting to our core director of procurement or buyer or whatever, so that they understand who we are, what we do, why we're different, where we are, what's the thing that's going to get them interested in how we play the game, like whatever. And so that's the stuff that not enough companies, they're very good at the what's and the how's. They're terrible at the why's. So what we do, they can talk about that all day. How we do it, they can talk about that. Why we do it, can I tell you what we do again? Like, no. Like, this is the stuff that gets people activated.
So there's certain brands in the UK. I don't know what it's like in Canada, but there's certain brands in the UK that you would consider relatively boring brands, and they go out of their way to inject personality and character into it.
Fantastic.
There's one I'm thinking of, a supermarket chain called Aldi.
Yep. Yeah.
Anybody listening
Familiar.
to this will know. I don't know if their social media is the same in Canada that it is in the UK, but they start wars with other supermarkets.
Awesome. I love it.
They post stuff about how their legal team is constantly fighting them to put stuff online. They're not allowed to do it, and we don't know if they've really had legal cases going on between them, or whether it's all just in good nature.
I totally get it.
How far should a company go if he thinks, right, I want to stand out against my competition, I'm in a relatively boring space?
Yep.
Where's the fine line between making a name for yourself and standing out and everybody remember you, or going too far and people seeing you as they can't be trusted to be serious in business?
Yeah. And so that's a risk, right? So in B2B, risk aversion is everywhere, right? Like it's everywhere. So we have to be serious. We have to be, professional. We're still, thinking about things like nobody's showing up in a hoodie, whatever those things are that make that company feel like there's a structure to their brand that has to be.
I'm literally wearing a Christmas jumper right now.
I understand.
Go on, carry on.
And I mistakenly decided to go polo today. I apologize, but I should have went hoodie. But to that point, it's a very good point. So somebody who gets it, and you're familiar because everybody's familiar, is Ryan Reynolds and Maximum Effort in his branding and marketing. So there's one, and shame on me, the company name escapes me at the moment, but they did a commercial for a 3PL company about moving goods. And so very boring. They're moving truckloads of things on ships, containers, stuff like that. Super boring business. And if I can swear,
go for it. Swear away.
The whole thesis of this Maximum Effort ad was, what's a shit ton? We move a shit ton of stuff. What's a shit ton?
Right.
And so, awesome, just awesome. And that kind of stuff is where I see a brand like that. That's a big risk. They're in a very serious, goods must move in a certain path across certain geography at a certain time frame. It's a very serious business. And they're talking about shit tons and buttloads and awesome. Stand up and clap, good for you. Now you have personality on top of that. And so whether it's Aldi or this company or that company, that's the stuff that I want B2B companies thinking about. Do they have to do that? No. Do they have to make a mark, take a stand, make a statement, be bolder, be braver? Absolutely, 100%. And if they're in an oversubscribed business, meaning the phone just rings, we don't got to do anything, I still want them to do that. Because again, if the phone ever stops ringing, what are you going to do? You don't start from zero. So get that flywheel spinning about who we are, why we're here, our version or flavor of that from a marketing perspective, specifically in B2B, that makes them stand apart. So standing apart is everything in my world.
I've got two follow-up questions from that, and I'm not sure which one to ask first, but I'm going to ask the second one I thought of because I've never asked it of someone before, and it's perfectly relevant because you mentioned Big and I earlier on. People that have the phone ring, I hear this a lot when I'm trying to help businesses. Come along to this networking group. We can introduce you to loads of people that could potentially refer you and use you. The biggest, or SEO for a website, for example, the biggest objection I hear from people is, I don't need that. I get all my business now from word of mouth. I get all my business from recommendations from customers.
Kudos.
What happens when that stops?
Exactly. So what do you say?
What do you say?
There's two problems to that. So, and we're experiencing this one. I'm sure it's the same in the UK. Right now, there is a veritable tsunami of folks who are entrepreneurs, business owners in Canada with a certain demographic that are like, I'm out. I'm done. I got to sell this thing. We are moving to Florida. We're moving to Barbados. We're out. We're done. And they look to the market, and the market says, well, how do you get your business? Word of mouth. Awesome. What do you do for marketing? Nothing. What money do you spend on your sales team? Nothing. Oh, and you want $26 million for that business? Don't think so. And that's a revelation. They're getting hit with this square between the eyes because they have not built the fundamentals of the business. So I love that conversation when somebody says, no, I don't need all that. I got word of mouth coming out my ears. Amazing. Except what happens if somebody has a bad experience? You start getting poor reviews. Somebody says you're a jerk. AI makes up lies about you. Suddenly that word of mouth goes zip. Now what you got? And the fundamentals of business do not change. So I want business owners, I want entrepreneurs to build the machine. And the hardest thing for an entrepreneur to do is say no. Say no to a customer. I need you to do this and that. Can't do it. They're allergic to that. And that is, in my headspace, the best place to be. I want to say no all the time to everybody because I'm so busy, I'm so full, I'm so this. The machine is still churning out. The phone is ringing. I couldn't take another deal or another customer, even if I wanted to. I want that phone ringing off the hook all day, every day. Nope. See you in 6 months. You want to wait? Okay. So this is demand creation. And so demand creation for me is the stuff that entrepreneurs take for granted and then they don't execute on. So you take it for granted when the phone rings. When it stops ringing and you haven't built a demand creation engine, what do you got? Nothing. That's what you got. And so it's establishing with entrepreneurs what that means. And so I've got lots of entrepreneurs that want to go on the hockey stick. Going, flip, there we go. We're a $1 trillion company. Amazing. How are you going to do that? On the back of what? And then it's establishing how that's going to work in a world where you got to be profitable. So you can't just say yes to everything and then fingers crossed you make money at the end of the year. That's a bad idea. So it's understand. So there's a lot of moving parts of this, but if you create the machine runs itself. It is a flywheel. Once the flywheel starts to spin, I don't care if anybody talks about me at the backyard barbecue. Like, I don't care about that. I've got 75 people lined up to take me on as a next vendor because I'm really good at what I do. They know exactly what, they know I'm busy. They know but I'm good and I'm going to solve their problem. They will wait 6 months or they will go to a competitor. They'll have a bad experience and then they'll come back to me anyway. So it's helping entrepreneurs look at it from a place of adaptation because you can adapt to that for one. And then from a place where they think that abundance is happening. So it's not scarcity, it's abundance. Everybody who's my target will come to me if they know I exist and I have a good outcome for them. And it's getting them to think like that. That's really, because again, if you don't think, if the phone's ringing, great, but if the sun doesn't come up tomorrow, what do we do? It's helping them navigate what that means. And so that's a challenging place for a lot of companies. That is not a small thing. And I'm quite certain that that's the same in the UK as it is here.
Yeah.
It's getting them to think differently.
It is. Yeah. We bought a couple of businesses a couple of years ago and we've been on the lookout for more since. And a big problem we found with businesses is pretty much what you've just described. They'll have word of mouth referrals. They'll have business coming in, but it's coming in because of that person.
Yep. 100%.
That personal recommendation. And then when they leave and sell the business, there is no business.
There is no business.
Because there's no
100%.
Sales team. There's no referral process. There's no pipeline of sales. It's them. And once they go, to carry on that business, you've got to replace them.
Exactly.
Which is going to cost you 50, 60, 70,000 pounds a year to replace the MD and the sales manager because it's the same. It's one person doing two jobs.
Nailed it.
There's no profit, no business,
no profit. So and on the other side of the fence, they want all the money. They want all the money.
They absolutely want all the money. Yeah.
Right. And so
everybody thinks their business is worth $1 million.
Right. Yep. And so there is a lot of retirement funding built into that model, what you just described.
Yeah.
And that's a hard place when that message doesn't come across cleanly because it's now like, and technology is the poster child for that. They haven't invested in technology. The website was built by the nephew 17 years ago, like whatever, like all of those things. stack on top of each other, and they still want all the money. And we're like, wait a second, this is not how that works. And so it's and at least in Canada, it will be a buyer's market for businesses for the foreseeable future. And so it's understanding that as well. Like I might be talking to you, but you might have 7 different businesses on your roster of people to talk about. And so what do you want to do about that too? So this is it. When I say tsunami, I truly mean that. This wave is continuing to build.
To go back to the thing we were talking about earlier, not as far back as Ryan Reynolds, almost as far back as Ryan Reynolds.
Fair enough.
When you talked about businesses setting themselves out there and going off and doing something creative to stand out, if I'm a business owner of a boring business right now, I don't know, let's say I'm a stationery seller or I'm an accountant, and I think I do want to do that. I do want to make a name for myself. I want to stand out. I want to do something that's going to have people going, wow, he's the Aldi of accountants or whatever it may be. How do I do that if I'm a boring accountant?
I love this conversation.
Who do I go to?
Yeah. So for me, so there's 2 angles to it. So the brand strategy has to live with the company that they've built. So a boring company, it makes sense. A CPA, like whatever those things are, an accountant, a lawyer, whatever. It is really reflective of like who you are as a business. I don't want somebody to try to be funny that's not funny. Like it's not funny. Like it's going to fall flat. Like ha ha ha. No, you're not ha 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 at all. But on the flip side, like who are you? If you are a serious professional who knows what you do to the nth degree, like we need to present that. Like that's not just, you being in a boring business. That's you being the expert in the field, not an expert in the field, the expert in the field. Well, how we do that? Because again, once you build out what that strategy is, whatever it is, funny, cute, smart, experienced, whatever that structure feels like, whatever personality that brand has, everything has to be reflective of that because the customer is going to own that brand. They're going to be the ones who say, oh yeah, he's super experienced. Oh my God, that guy's a genius. Amazing. How do we use that to our advantage in everything that we do? So we don't want to be cute. We don't want to be funny. We want to be very serious, but this is what we're trying to push in terms of that message. So these are the things that a lot of companies don't spend enough time on. They just do. They execute. And I'm like, okay, that's very confusing. And so how do we make sure that one day you're not funny and the next day you're not cute and the next day you're serious and like, okay, wait, you're all over the place here. What's going on? And so it's establishing with, an individual organization, company founder, who are you? Like, what does this turn into and who's going to respond to that? And then it is the standing apart. You can't just say the same thing everybody else says and expect a different outcome. You're just the same as everybody else. Vanilla, 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 vanilla. How about we be chocolate? What does that mean? For serious, for funny, for cute, for whatever, what does that turn into? Messaging, presence, whatever. If it's a serious professional, I want that serious professional on every friggin' podcast about that profession that we can get them in front of because that builds the brand. And it's serious. We're talking about law. Okay, cool. Let's talk about that. And so it's understanding what that means to an individual company, a founder or whatever. It doesn't have to be a founder, but like the brand itself, the suite of people that live within that business to make sure that that's reflected. If that is when it's out of lockstep or if it's same, it just doesn't work. And then again, if we expect an outcome from that, we're going to be disappointed. Kind of is what it is.
One of the other things you mentioned in our correspondence before this interview was about creating demand for your business.
Yep.
We have a TV show here in the UK. You've got it in America. I don't know if it's still on in America. The Apprentice.
Yep.
Used to be
it's not still on. We lost Donald Trump to a very big job, as you might have heard.
Yeah, he went and got his own apprentice job. Yeah. And then Schwarzenegger took over a bit.
He's doing great.
But in The Apprentice, they always, on the tasks where they have to create a product, they're set up to fail by the way it's edited. So they'll create the product. They'll write, this is the product we're going to do. We've branded it. We're going to now got this pitch with this company we're going to sell it to. And then the other team will go off and do market research to see if there's a demand for the product, which is then after they've already created it. And the market research will find out, actually, no, it's a bit shit. There's no demand for the product. And then they'll either tell the first team, yeah, there's no demand for it, it's a bit shit. Or they'll lie to them and go, oh, everybody loved it. And they'll go in and then try and sell it. And then the experts will say, no, there's no demand for that, it's a bit shit.
Right.
They do it the wrong way round. They deliberately set them up to look like idiots so that they do the market research after.
That's good TV is what that is.
It's great TV. It's great TV. They all look stupid, but it's great TV. So how do you create a demand for your product when you're already in a business by doing it the wrong way around that The Apprentice does it?
100%. And this is the stuff that not very few companies invest enough on, which is product market fit, market research, understanding. So, and I said it during this conversation, like the customer is everything. If you don't know who your customers are deeply, intimately, not that they're females 37 to 40, like that's a starting point. Great. Sure. Let's do that. But like, you need to know what makes those human beings tick, because you can't fundamentally change their behaviors or thoughts or anything if you don't know what's going to influence that conversation, whether that's a sales conversation, a marketing conversation, doesn't really matter. But if there's not enough of them, kind of screwed from the get-go. So how do we not do that? So again, understanding your market space. And the thing that I always say, and so many companies say this, all I need is 0.02% of the total $3 billion market and I'll be a millionaire. Like,
oh yeah.
What are we even talking about right now? And total addressable market matters to IBM and it matters to Microsoft and it matters to Apple. For ABC Corporation in Yorkshire, means nothing. No, absolutely nothing. And yet they're like, it's a $2 billion industry. Like, what are we even talking about? And that's the confusion that a lot of companies start running up against. Like, you'll see SaaS is a great one for that. Oh, it's a $2 trillion industry. Like you are this big. You are a pimple. And you're worried about $2 trillion? Like, come on. And so it's understanding why that market is even interested in what you have to offer, if it is at all interesting in the first place.
Yeah.
And then what are we going to do about that in terms of trying to put some level of information in front of an audience, a customer base, that has them thinking about that. You can create demand. You cannot manufacture it. If it doesn't exist, it just doesn't exist.
That reminds me of The Simpsons, when Marge Simpson went to a franchise fair to decide which franchise she was going to buy. I think she ended up buying some sort of baking franchise, a baking van, and it turned into turf war. But while she was walking around this franchise fair, Disco Stew had his own disco franchise. And he was very selective with his figures. And Disco Stew said something like, between 1976 and 1977, disco music went up 600%. If that surge continues, it's like...
Oh, I recall all of that. So, yes. So there's a lot of that going around, too.
There's a lot of
disco stews out there.
There's a lot of disco stews. So if someone's listening to this and they're thinking this guy's absolutely insane, I want to find out more about him. I want to speak to him. I want to get him in and talk to my business, or I want to hear him speak, because I know you do public speaking as well.
Yep.
What's the best way for someone to get in touch with you, or where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm spitting out content on LinkedIn with some regularity.
Spitting out, I like that. That's down with the kids. I'm spitting out content.
Spitting it out. My LinkedIn profile is probably a great place to start. And I really do want people, not because I'm trying to get views, but I do want people to watch my content, because it is the thesis, right? Like it is where I say this to everybody that is like, oh, you do content on LinkedIn. I'm like, yeah, because I got to get it out of my head. Like I just got to get it out. It's in here and it's got to come out. It's either going to come out through my ears or while I'm walking my dog. So for me, it is just understanding more about, I've been in the small business space, well, including some marketing, for almost 20, well, call it 15 years. And, you see some things and you recognize some patterns. You stay current on trend and on what's going on in the market around you. And what I'm trying to impress upon companies is that the way we've done things is not the way we're going to do things in a future world. And that future world could be, I don't know, next week, or maybe it's 2028. But it is a shift that a lot of people are not ready for. So for me, just getting in touch or being part of my sort of world, start there. So I've got the YouTube and the LinkedIn and the whatever. It's all under my name. But it is for me really important that people start paying attention to, whether it's me, whether it's you, whether it's Al, about the way things are going to be, the way things are shifting already. And I say this, the world has changed. There's just a lag in the system. The system has not caught up to the fact that the world has changed. And so how do we help companies navigate that? So it's a little bit of my thesis. That's a little bit of what you'd hear in some of the content that I put out, but that's kind of what I do. My ideal client is really a small business in Canada. I don't do, any sort of side consulting or anything like that. I'm working with Canadian entrepreneurs based upon my current role. And it's very important to me that those clients have, access to folks like me. So whether it's me or somebody like me somewhere else in the ecosystem, it's helping them be better. That's really the goal. And, it's right now, it's a very tough time for Canadian companies that do anything related to the American market space. And so navigating that right now with what's happening south of the border here is every day is a different day. And so it's really challenging to see companies sort of suffer through that. And it is, sometimes the days are good days and sometimes they're really, 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 really not good days. And so this is where we are, unfortunately. That was a long-winded answer. That was a
long-winded answer and a really upbeat message to end on. Thank you for that one.
All the positivity emanating from here.
We'll bring in some. We'll bring in some music. We'll make it.
Please do.
Bit of Benny Hill theme or something like
balloons,
that.
Something.
But, yeah. I'll put links to your LinkedIn and your YouTube and all stuff. I'll put that in the show notes below the podcast so people can scroll down, click, go through, and follow Chris and watch his videos.
Watch me walk my dog. And
he's got to get it out of his head. Think of his poor dog. The dog's having to listen to this every single day.
Oh my God, it's awful.
The dog's either an expert in marketing by now or he's looking for a new home. I don't know.
Exactly.
One or the other. Chris, thank you very much for being a guest on the podcast.
My absolute pleasure. This was amazing.